Good evening and welcome to the Eclectic Radical. Tonight, my guest is the one and only Elizabeth Croydon.
Hi.
Hi, Elizabeth. Introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Please call me Lizzie
I can
because
do that.
it forces you to smile, whether you're angry at me, perhaps. Please don't. Or, just life in general. Lizzie, you know. Um, and if when I choose to die at 106 and I pick the best martial arts student in my dojo and I hand them the will and tell them I'm going for a very long nap, in remembrance, they still have to smile. Lizzie. I love that Charlie Chaplin song, Smile. Though your heart is aching, smile.
Yes, I know the one.
Da-da-da-da, breaking. And the movie, the 1975 movie Smile, have you seen that?
I don't think I have.
My eclectic radical friend.
I don't think I've seen that, no.
Well, you clearly saw what I was wearing tonight because our fashion glands collided. So
I like your glasses.
Thank you. 4 eyes on the prize, brother.
Well, mine are red too, so we're coordinated.
That's lovely. Smile is a very relevant documentary. I mean, it's like a documentary about a beauty pageant, but it's a comedy. It's a cheeseball comedy. I have high anxiety about being here. It's one of the first media appearances I've made in a couple of years. And I'm very vulnerable now because I'm in a beauty contest. Now, it's a nuanced thing because it's not quite beauty. it's fabulousness, which I thoroughly qualify for. Yes. Yes. I am fab over 40. I have a record of fab. I am prefab. That's how fab I am. But and there's a makeover that comes with the prize along with a $40,000 grant, as in Cary Grant, as in carry on my wayward son.
Well, I mean, if Cary Grant wasn't worth more than $40,000 before he died, then that's kind of not very much to show for his career.
Well, I hope I be as prosperous and abundant as Cary Grant, because, this will be the first grant that I carry, this $40,000 grant. And I will carry it to the American Breast Cancer Foundation. I'm already doing that with your votes. If anyone out there has voted for me, thank you very much. This is doing something very wonderful internally for me that I never thought would happen. I never thought I'd be in this. And then, should I win, my platform shoes that I stand on are. I'll be forming a foundation in the name of my grandmother, Emily, and our family friend, Gwen. My grandmother, Emily, survived breast cancer. Our family friend, Gwen, did not. And my mother nursed her through her transition. And it was a profound experience. And I remember when my grandmother would undress one night and take off her boob bra, I just saw the most amazing, elegant woman who was like, she to me was a ninja Amazon who probably taught Wonder Woman everything she knows. I know my grandmother, Emily, was very familiar with Athena because she introduced me to all the world cultures. And the first things that I learned were the Greek myths. And then we went on to the Egyptian myths. But, that is through the influence of my grandma. And then I'll be giving half of my grant to publishing the Equal Rights Amendment immediately, bypassing all of this madness that's in court right now, and negating this position that women seem to be forced to take in this country, where we are looked upon legally as the second class. Have you, John Cleese was on Daniel Pasternak and Paul Provenza's podcast recently, and he was so lovely to discuss all of the class comedy he's done. And since class is definitely an ingredient to fabulousness, I follow in his footsteps.
Well, I mean, it's so much easier to do class comedy when you went to Cambridge.
In the church, the monks who would translate the holy books, there would be inscribed on their desk or their chair, the higher, the fewer, and the higher the higher government access you had, the higher your chair was. I don't know if I explained that. I wrapped
Close
myself
enough.
up in the wires. What, sir?
Close enough.
Say that again.
I said close enough.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. My father, Stan, God bless him, would say, good enough for government work. And he spent his life working in the government, so he would know.
Well, you know, they were a little bit.
Those who know don't say. Those who say don't know. So no,
Well,
I don't know.
The government is a little bit sloppy about a lot of what it does. And I know this is true because the government has charged, I think it's something like a total of, not counting, a total of like 10 different groups of people at different times of seditious conspiracy. They've all been white supremacists, and none of them have ever been convicted.
Sedition.
Starting with the people who had the
sedition.
Starting with the people who had the pro-German plot during World War II to target American military targets and government officials in attempt to take over.
I do not mean to shout over you, but I am in a fabulous contest, and Nazis do not qualify as fabulous, okay? If you are a Nazi, don't vote for me. Wait, I'll take your money for breast cancer, but you know, may I love you so much and you be so charmed by me that you drop your Nazi ways. You did not see that coming. You did not see changing your ways coming. What's up, Nazis? I hear you're trolling my buddy Chris.
I hope you're not watching the show.
Oh, well, you know,
I don't
hey,
want
I
Nazis.
was friends with a Nazi, okay? I am slightly a Nazi fluid. Now, it was
not good.
Well, you know, it actually turned out to be good, and I didn't know. I was not aware. We were not aware of her activities after she would leave the ice cream parlor and burger restaurant that we all worked at in 1988.
Okay.
We just weren't aware of it. She would, you know, talk about her punk ways, and then one day, she came in and she told us all what she had been doing and that she felt so terrible and that she was so loved at her job that she repented. And I don't know where she is, but I do know that she has cried over the damage that she has done. And I hope she is living a fabulous life and have taken the steps to make up for horrid actions. But then you get so committed. I mean, there's a whole spectrum of Nazism, isn't there, Chris? I mean, you've got your like quasi part-time Nazis, and then you've got, you know, your superior Nazis that are from the Nazi land. You were discussing this earlier.
Well, I mean, they're pretty much all Nazis, and you should really do the same thing with all of them.
Oh, Mandela, Nelson Mandela, when will there ever be world peace? You know,
Well,
I've tuned out of the whole Ukraine thing, sir. Like, I am not here for politics. I'm here for rock and rollitics.
To mention Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
No, we talking about women's rights. That brings up the Supreme Court. I know we don't want to talk about Nazis, but we do have 6 of them on the Supreme Court, and we can't get around that. And with that in mind, it's worth noting that
I just don't understand
that Nelson Mandela had some really what's the adjective I'm looking for here? He had some really exciting, loud, really effective plans for dealing with Nazi judges with lifetime appointments. He was put in prison for these plans. They were so effective. And I think that's worth studying in today's climate.
Yes. I think it's all worth studying in today's climate. I think war language in general and hate groups, just hate itself, needs to be de-escalated. And I don't think that we can do that through dividing ourselves through politics. I think that we need to bring ourselves together through rock and rollitics. And find the language that everyone understands. And that is, the hopeful, that's one thing I'm employing as a technique to help bridge hatred. I mean, I don't understand. I wish everyone could be fabulous. And I wish I did my eyebrows better. I think I gave myself Groucho Marx.
Definitely not Groucho Marx. So I can say that with some confidence.
He's my favorite Marxist. I am a Groucho Marxist.
Well, just as long as you're not a Zeppo Marxist. He was the one who made bomber parts for the U.S. Air Force during World War II.
I am glad you know about the 4 branches of Marxism. Wait a minute. The 6 branches of Marxism, because there's Karl Marxism, Zeppo, Harpo, Chico. I'm leaving out someone. It's
Groucho, Chico, Harpo,
I'm also recalling
Zeppo,
a John
Gummo.
Gummo. Thank you. I couldn't think of Gummo. Thank you. I've had so many concussions. I've had more concussions through martial arts and the violence I've survived as a woman that I think I've had as many concussions as a professional football player. I'm not in it to compete. But yeah.
So I know you said you didn't want to talk about politics, but I do have to ask you.
Please.
Have you gotten the text message from the Democratic Party yet, letting you know that the Supreme Court has repealed Roe and that you have to give the money to save the abortion rights after they've already been taken away by the Supreme Court?
Row, row, row your boat gently to the vote. Merrily, 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 merrily. This marketing's a joke. Yes, I have, my friend. I have been informed. And I'm against the entire use of Rovember, my friend, or not against it. If they had hired me, if they had hired me, I would have, placed the discussion on equality, which is what my grant will go to. Should you vote for me at votefab40.com 2022/Elizabeth Croydon, CROY, because women deserve equality. DON, as in done. Equal means equal. Will get it done. Sorry. I felt like it was a momentary interlude for a commercial.
Hey, if
you've got a very Lebowski presentation about yourself as a host, and I'm not mad. Is there a carpet tying the room together, Chris?
No.
Okay. You are. You're clearly tying. You're tying this podcast together because I'm all over the place. I'm I'm nervous.
Well, we all have those moments.
I wore this beret in honor of Pepper Oceana. Am I saying her name correctly? I've never spoken with her.
I know who you mean.
She's an excellent activist. It's not red for Medicare for all, but it's white for being bright in the face of darkness, which is
Great
fabulous. Thank you. I wanted to wear raspberry, but all I have are the Prince lyrics to quote you.
I have a red one from Medicare for All here somewhere, but we moved around the office recently.
Well, let's move around our topic right now. Have you seen OCD? Have you listened to OCD, Obsessive Comedy Disorder podcast?
No, I haven't.
It is such a delightful thing to do as mental floss. We were talking about mental floss. You should let Paul Provenza and Daniel Pasternak in your ears because they take you, particularly Dan Pasternak, takes you on a wild narrative ride where he unfolds these amazing comedic talents. And his first guest was John Cleese. I was speaking about
class comedy.
Yeah, I was speaking about his class comedy, and he was speaking to it on Mr. Pasternak's podcast. And he was just so knowledgeable, addressing so many things regarding religion and current events through the subversive, some would say. I mean, we could argue that all day. I'm not here to argue.
How subversive can a dude who went to Cambridge be? Let's face it.
Extremely subversive. You have to go on the front lines of the high class. I know. I do high comedy. I smoke a lot of weed. It's hard work.
Yes, high comedy, like the high opera or the high fantasy.
You got to be high to read or write it. Everyone's like, I'm more subversive than you are, and then there's like mainstream subversion, and then are you really subversive if you're having a subversive competition? I mean, what about anarchy? Oh my God, is anarchy fabulous? I don't know.
Anarchy is pretty fabulous.
How to do this. What?
Anarchy is pretty fabulous.
I do. I love it. I wish I had the privilege of going to many schools throughout my life, but I wish my parents had sent me to like an Angela Lansbury Mame school of, like the kid in Mame got to go to some liberal anarchistic school. I'd like my PhD in anarchy, actually. I'll defend my paper myself against myself, and I will declare myself a doctor of anarchy.
Well, fair enough. I don't know if they're giving degrees there yet, but I mean, I suppose I could sign it. What the heck?
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Oh my goddess.
But speaking of anarchy,
yes. In or out of the UK, with or without an African or European swallow?
Well, no, when I think of anarchy, I always think of American corporations.
Oh, really? That is odd, Mr. Richards. Yeah.
Well, they're
individuals
of lawlessness.
Well, funny you should say that. I do not understand where people get the idea that anarchists are lawless. So.
Yeah, well,
we govern ourselves. We're self-governing. Different. There's a nuance as opposed to an old-ance. Which brings me to sustainable capitalism versus the word socialism. and the subversive nature of language. Like, maybe if our movement used something that, the Democrats would understand, you would say sustainable capitalism instead of socialism. But then I get this entrenched old dance where they're like, no, 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 that's not socialism. That's, and we go back to the old dogmatic ways because we haven't established new ways to move Medicare for all forward, making women equal citizens, all the good stuff that we're fighting for. The good fight,
and I think that that's very much the opposite of the direction that the people making the news seem to want to move in.
Oh man, let's talk about that. Daniel Pasternak on Obsessive Comedy Disorder was discussing that he is done with teens and he is done with, anger being used. Umbrage. I believe John Fugelsang used the word umbrage when he was interviewing Mr. Pasternak and Mr. Provenza on his show. Using umbrage to stir the masses. I mean, look at the outlet Raw story. Spelled backwards, that's war. And all I ever see them run a headline for is anger. It's very exciting. Trump sold lots of papers. We got a lot. And what is this, Chris? I'm on the Twitter. I used to watch television with like 4 or 5 TVs in front of me and a remote control. And I would watch with a partner. We would have 4 newspapers out. And we would flip back and forth to figure out what really was going on with an educated guess of a Washingtonian. 2 and 2 equals 4, but a 5 will get you 10 if you know how to work it. And generally, you have to get that cleared through the Pentagon. Venus, put down your arms.
Pentagon knows this stuff.
That's why women are second-class citizens, because we have yet to put arms on Venus. Okay, I apologize. I've gone somewhere very far. It may actually be the planet Venus. I'm still very concerned about my eyebrows.
Well, eyebrows are tremendously important to the making that fabulous effect work.
Well, I wanted you to see my eyebrows because at the ripe age of 52, playing with a full deck of years, my eyebrows, they can pull a Bob Geldof. That's why I wore the glasses. So I could at least, these are where my eyebrows are. When you're fabulous, you learn these techniques. That's,
So you're saying you don't like Mondays?
Why am I saying I don't like Mondays?
It's a Bob Geldof joke. Never mind.
Oh, I don't know that Geldof joke. Will you break it down for me?
Okay, so there's a tragic story in the United States where a young woman who made a bad decision to commit a violent act went to a playground at a school
on Mondays. The song of you referring to that massacre from my teens. Oh, that was the first. That was like one of the first shootings.
But that's their song.
That is a quote. Or was that Geldof recording it?
They asked her why she did it, and she said she didn't like Mondays.
And Bob Geldof wrote that song?
I don't like Mondays is a song by Geldof.
Wow! I didn't know that. I love the big G all the more.
So yes, that's
how lovely.
You have to explain a joke that much, though it doesn't work.
Well, leave that to the professionals. You're the podcast interviewee. I'm the chick that made Life magazine with Cheech and Chong. You delight me in bringing up again Daniel Pasternak and Paul Provenza's OCD. I've forgotten why. The Mondays, the shootings, John Cleese. We were talking about John Cleese. And, you should really listen to it because John Cleese came up in a working class family. And that is overlooked. And I think.
And then he went to Cambridge and ruined everything.
I would kill to go to Cambridge. I would get in that. I wouldn't kill, but I'd be thrilled to blend in enough to just, no one knew who I was in the corner. My laugh would give it away, of course, but I would love to audit that like an anarchist. I used to be able to just put my books down in my algebra class at Duke Ellington School for the Arts, get up, leave class, go read books at the library, come back, collect my books. If I could just do that, but I was attending classes I wasn't in, I would definitely be in on that. Has anyone ever crashed a brunch, a high level, an upper class brunch? I crashed CPAC one year, pretending to be a Palin-esque Trump loving idiot, and I ate all their snacks. Yes, taking it for the movement.
Well, if you can't eat the rich, eat their food.
Praise Bob. Praise Bob. And take their money when they want to give it to you.
Well, I mean, heck, take their money. You know what? The thing to remember is that wage theft is almost never prosecuted, so you just have to hire a millionaire and not pay them and you're set.
I am so nervous about being vulnerable in this contest. I didn't hear you, but I do love the John Cleese joke about the joke that killed. The joke so funny it killed. I love that joke. You couldn't read the joke, Chris. It had to be written one word on a sign of paper properly each time. And then the soldiers would hold it up in the field, and the other team would laugh so hard they died. It's one of the best jokes in the world. And to say that John Cleese is not subversive, he shaped my mind. I went to a Quaker, another subversive group. Oh, you watch out for those pesky anti-war Quakers, man.
The thing is if you were following politics,
which I'm not,
which you're fortunately not,
yeah, I feel great.
You would discover that John Cleese was a horribly depressing, snobby liberal. With way too much face.
You need OCD. You need the OCD podcast, bro. Daniel Pasternak combs all, and I do mean all. Mr. Pasternak is a librarian of souls, and he combs through and untangles one of his most beloved friends and mentors, and you need to see it. You need just embrace it. Just listen to it. You don't need to agree with me. I don't like people that agree with me. Everyone knows I like to argue. This whole vulnerable beauty contest, it makes me very nervous.
Well, you're going to do fine.
Thanks.
You're going to do. I mean. No, I won't tell that joke. That's no good.
It's having an amazing effect on me, Mr. Richards. It's having a very personal effect on me. My mentor, Dr. Sylvia Traymore Morrison, she was one of the first women writers on SNL, and she roasted Muhammad Ali. She toured with Whitney Houston. She was the first Black female impressionist in this country. She came to see my headlining set in Washington, D.C., where we both lived. And she saw me go through the whole 45 minutes, and the crowd went crazy, loved me. But she came up to me afterwards and said, "You don't like being looked at. You will throw your voice, you will move around, you will mug, you will, I don't know, dance a jig." But but you won't allow people to see you and look at you. And that really struck me because she was absolutely right. Now, she was a beauty queen in her own right. She did a couple beauty pageants, and her stature and integrity has always impressed me tremendously. I look up to her so much as a woman. She's written numerous books, including Jelly Beans from Heaven. And I thought, how does this woman see what I am doing? And so for her and for my own healing after surviving multiple assaults in the line of standing up for myself and women's rights in comedy clubs. Sorry, I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I also have post-toking stoner disorder. And I wish I had the latter as opposed to the previous, but it is transformational for me to allow people to see my beauty and my fabulousness, of course. But of course. But if it's in the name of raising money for breast cancer, how can I I rise to that occasion, because while it's not directly Medicare for all, it's helping reach more people regarding the needed information about breast cancer. It's on the front lines of health.
Hey,
yes,
Joe Biden's not curing it anytime soon, so you might as well do what you can.
Joe Biden's not giving women equal rights anytime soon either. His lawyers are in court fighting, publishing the one sentence that women need.
He did promise, so never mind. He changed his mind and went from talking about how he was going to support Hyde to how he hated Hyde. I forgot his quick turnaround on abortion in 2020. But what I was going to say was that Joe Biden doesn't care about anybody's rights. Joe Biden no, that's not true. Joe Biden supports a billionaire's right not to have their lifestyle meaningfully changed.
Well, he's a corporate figurehead, okay? And to give women equal rights in this country is going to cost corporations more money than freeing the slaves. And that is a figure that needs to get out there. Okay, he's a corporate figurehead. That's who he is. So how do you reach a corporate figurehead? Through their heart. They love art. They have a great budget for the arts. Maybe it's art and heart, because you can't have heart without art, or earth without art, for that matter.
They don't have a budget for art in schools, though, which means it's like they don't want any new art.
That is something that needs to change. And that is something that I have always loved my parents dearly for, was rearranging their schedules entirely to use the, dare I say, I would like to say sustainable capitalism, but I'll use the word socialism due to FDR. Go to the library, go to the museum. A museum may be accused of being socialist. These eco-friendly terrorists ripping apart Monet. Okay, I put 1,000 miles on my Birkenstocks. Let's not rip the art. That reaches everyone's heart. There are equalizers. The artists in this country, John Cleese included, are the great equalizers. You can't have one without the, because why? We permeate all classes, man. Get that? Isn't that cool? We permeate all classes. I should put my glasses back on. These eyebrows are making me really awkward. But yeah, we permeate all classes. And therefore, our message gets across lines where other people who are very busy looking at the details and the cartography of the situation, maybe they're not looking at the heartography of the situation, which is a word I just invented on this show.
Well, I mean, there are worse words.
Thank you. Yes, there are. I'm trying not to say any of them.
Well, I appreciate it.
Cancer's one of them.
No, I don't mind.
That's my C word. I'll say the other C word. In fact, I'll declare myself the other C word because I have depth and warmth. Yes, sir.
Well, but nobody has proven more than Bill Hicks, the late Bill Hicks, that cancer is funny. Because he was at his funniest when he was, ready to fall over dead at any moment.
Well, that's the greatest joke on us all. We all think we have more time. So God bless Bill Hicks. He saved my life, or my laughter, really. It was the first time I ever laughed after about 5 years. I was exposed to Mr. Hicks' humor. And I laughed so hard at his Newt Gingrich and his take on psychedelics. What I was supposed to open for.
Let's
Bill,
Hunt and Kill Billy Ray Cyrus.
However, here's the other thing that. Wait a minute. Hold it. Here's the other thing. I really want to get this out because I've taken numerous concussions. And this is, a loosely formatted show. But Here's the other thing that, us leftist wingnuts, and I'm going to throw myself in the mix, even though I'm into rock and rollitics, which is apolitical entirely. And I the only wings I have is a Paul McCartney band. But here's the thing, and billionaire class aside, or it's something to at least consider, is to look at the wealth of the world that we had to amass to make the changes in benevolence that we already enjoy. And it is I'm not saying except wait.
I want to look at it, but they keep denying me my fair share.
Right. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, I need the left. I need the I need you to embrace money. Praise it. Yes. Oh, money, pod me wallet. Say it with me. Oh, money, pod me wallet. It's an ancient Sanskrit Irish meditation in which money should just flow to you. You need to embrace. Yes. Your ideas are great. Your ideas of benevolence are great. But Kanye West is over here just hoarding all of his money and pulling, I didn't even mean to bring him up. I am not afraid of the Jewish space lasers. I'm afraid of the Kanye West space lasers. But listen, I'm a prophet looking for a prophet. And the reality has to be embraced. That change is money, money is change. And the system is rigged. And you do have to work above and below. You have to work all classes. You have to be the artist of your life and find the abundance, whether it's bartering or having 3 jobs in this economy. Balancing that is an art. I don't like to take part in any sort of division, really. Unless it's subdivisions by rush. I like to bring people together, and we really have to look at the way that we thrive together. I know that there is harmony that can be achieved, and I don't wish to divide anyone, and I dislike intensely the ego clash between artists and working people, the 9-to-5 person out there who likes my comedy or might like my comedy and hasn't heard of me yet. Their life is an art. How they get up in work is an art. How they deal to watch someone under incredible scrutiny that has survived so much to hold your head against a barrage of propaganda and madness to make you feel insignificant is an art. And I am willing to fight for people I don't know, as Bernie Sanders said. And every day I fight for the idea that people can realize they create their own happiness. Some people don't like billionaires. Some people are attached to the emotional idea of not liking billionaires. I just want them to pay taxes. That's what I want to see them do. You know, I can get in on all the hate you want, but they're not, you know, they're the ones that can afford to come to my comedy. And they're the ones that need to make the change and pay their taxes. I mean,
yeah, but they have a fundamental interest in not paying their taxes and not making change.
Well, I have a fundamental interest in not paying my taxes, but you know,
don't we all? But I mean, we don't get that luxury.
I would gladly pay my taxes proudly as an American with the ideas that we have built in this country. If I was in a higher tax bracket to pay those taxes,
I do want to call attention to the wonders of the internet, that we get to see Leon Trotsky say, wow, breaking the stereotype that only guys listen to Rush. Because, you know, before the internet, we would not see this.
I love you, Leon Trotsky. Hot to Trotsky. I love Trotsky. I love it. It rhymes with Trotsky. Trotsky. That might okay.
Just don't talk about Chachi, because Scott Baio is going to bring us back to politics.
Chotsky. I'm looking for a Chotsky. Oh, I got a Chotsky right here. This is it's for my brother. For my brother. He's the best brother in the world.
Okay, so that's not a real Oscar then, I see.
No. I think, but I want one. The other thing I'll do with votefabover40.com/2022/Elizabeth Croydon Elizabeth-Croydon is that I'll be seeding the money for a film work I wrote when I was 27 years old, and I have worked till this time and intend through this time to make it. And it is William Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew, set in an international Aikido school. Mitsugi Satome Sensei Shihan inherited the school from the founder, Morihei Ueshiba. And here again, we have someone who you could call a heinous warmonger, who has killed many, many people to rise in the armies and has led many, many men into the field of battle. Dude knows how to kill. He also was very good at leading his men through a battlefield where he saw the sparks of gunpowder go off right before it happened, and he was able to get all of his men through that field safely. And later in his career, after he had done all of that, he said, I don't like the war machine. I don't like war language, but I'm really good at killing, and I'm really good at martial arts. I understand it like no one else understands it. And how do I de-escalate it? I'd much rather have, a conversation with this person. How do I de-escalate the killing? And of course, when someone's bent on killing, you have to meet them with you have to meet that force with a similar force, even though your force may vary. You have to, if you are the non-violent, if you are the receptive force, the feminine, you have to receive that, and you have to somehow transform that energy. Maybe there's a billionaire out there who has been sympathizing with Medicare for all along and was waiting to call socialism sustainable capitalism. Maybe that guy's out there. I don't know, but we need his money. Chris needs a new podcasting office. He has responsibilities. Pepper Oceana has, we all have responsibilities. I have them. I try not to have them. I've worked years for this immaturity, and I will have it respected. But yeah, I listen to Rush Divisions.
I prefer Joy Division.
I love the Joy Division.
But so Eva says, yes, but rich people don't pay taxes, so it's our tax dollars that pay for war, not rich people's. So I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is that your tax dollars do not pay for war. That's the good news. The bad news is they write blank checks for war and print the money to pay for war. And then your tax dollars go to fight inflation. And then they tell you that inflation is happening anyway. And then they raise all the prices on everything and raise interest so you can't borrow money in order to drive down demand, which means people starve. We're talking about austerity.
Sorry, that was my computer dinging. If
So,
you heard it.
so this whole thing where our taxes pay for war, no, it's worse. They're writing blank checks to pay for war, and our taxes are only covering the inflation that they're making us pay for now.
You know, I've never really been in the position where I could pay taxes all the time, so I haven't really looked at that situation. I'm a starving artist the majority of my time. Very happy to not be a starving artist. You know, now I'm kind of like mostly eating artist, which is really nice. I like that. Occasionally I starve, but you know.
As one of the best moments in Veronica Mars goes, let us feast like the lower middle class to which we aspire.
Oh my goddess. Oh my goddess. I love that line. That is brutal line. You know who would love that line? John Cleese. Daniel, you've got not Daniel Pasternak has got me all just wound up about his OCD podcast. Chris, you have got to watch it. And maybe it'll give you a different take, or maybe you're just setting me up.
Fry.
You know, maybe you're just trying to bring me out of my vulnerable, fabulous shell.
Stephen Fry, who is not himself above suspicion because he went to Oxford.
Oh my goodness.
But Stephen Fry said you could tell the difference between different Oxbridge comedians because comedians who went to Cambridge, like John Cleese and Rowan Atkinson, were cranky and depressing, and their humor was mean-spirited. Whereas
get behind me,
who went to Oxford, like himself and his good friend and collaborator Hugh Laurie, were cheerful and uplifting in their humor.
Whatever is that out of like some U.S. global the global media?
That is out of his autobiography. That is about his autobiography. When
Mandela, Nelson Mandela. I cannot believe that I have to defend John Cleese, but everyone should get on Daniel Pasternak and Paul Provenza's podcast. OCD, obsessive comedy disorder, and embrace these concepts, because you know when you're fighting through using a sense of humor, people don't necessarily know that you're fighting. You're just de-escalating, really, putting ideas in their ears. Yes, it's a long, slow fight, but it's important to both move quickly as well as mysteriously. As is this contest is working mysteriously on me, like letting people look at me. I have gone at the beginning of this contest. I have gone from I couldn't even say beauty contest. Like I was trying to tell John Fugelsang when I called into his show the other week, because he did interview Daniel Pasternak and Paul Provenza. That about the beauty contest, that I'm in this Fab Over 40 for New Beauty magazine, and competing for this $40,000 grant and cover magazine article, and Gosh, see, I'm distracted because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're really saying that. And every time I said beauty, I'd want to be like, I'm in a beauty contest. Because I think everyone is beautiful, or everyone has the ability to be beautiful, or I don't see why they would all be untrue. And now we're in the second round of voting, and yesterday I caught myself at the world famous Comedy Store in Hollywood saying, I'm in a beauty contest
I think I will not go so far as to say that everyone is beautiful.
Okay.
I believe souls are beautiful.
I think you're right in correcting me there.
I believe there are people who have beautiful souls. I believe there are people who have ugly souls.
I used to rail against the warmongers.
I believe there are people who sometimes match their souls. For instance, we have a person here in Oregon who is running for governor as a so-called independent, but is really just an ex-Democrat, sort of sympathizing with Republicans and trying to get a certain kind of Democrat to vote for her.
I see all of these.
But groups. She looks like Mom from Dr. Detroit. And every time I see her commercials for herself, it's like, you're not going to win the players' ball, Mom.
You lost me when you were like dividing people up through Republicans and stuff. As someone who's coached candidates, especially, you're left wing nuts, us, the Greens. I had a hand in a couple. Just a hand, mind you, a removed hand in a national presidential campaign. God bless the late Mike Gravel. You're using all of these terms, whereas I would just be like, there's someone running for office who employs the technique of this, and that. But I know, I mean, like, see, I tuned out when the pandemic hit. I turned off everything. I turned off news. My phone died after making the news. For 3 months, I was out of communication, and I decided to kind of stay out of communication. And I just found, it's like the people, if you see, it goes back to John Cleese's Life of Brian, the people's front of Judea. No, it's the Judean front of people, and they get caught up in, You're
going to end up tied to the tree anyway if you do anything right. So
tied to the whipping pole. Tied to the whipping pole.
Now,
Lord, yes.
Now, Eva, again, looks like Mom. That scares me. For those of you who have not seen Dan Aykroyd and Dr. Detroit, it's worth watching. It's funny. Howard Hesseman is in it.
Yay!
From Head of the Class.
Yay!
I feel so old. Fran Drescher is in it before The Nanny, long before The Nanny. It's a funny movie. It's a Dan Aykroyd movie. Mom is the bad guy. But Betsy Johnson should scare people. Betsy Johnson is Mom if Mom were a politician.
Well, that's very scary. The only Betsy Johnson I know is my favorite designer. Because when I was in high school, I thought the Rock and Rollatic lyric was "God Save the Queen." And her fashion regime. So I thought that I had to dress really cool and subversive to get people to think about the environment and stuff. I didn't know it was fascist regime until I started getting in the mix of all of these peace protests and learning politics outside of school.
Well,
I'm since you
mentioned designers.
Yes.
I was on Twitter earlier today, and a blue check account jumped out to me, and I saw Kate Spade, and I thought to myself, she's dead. And then I looked again. Oh, no, that's her company. So her company is using her name and has a blue check account and is making money off Twitter after her death. and capitalism goes on.
Well, I don't know if that was in her last will and testament. Again, we get to those who know don't say, those who say don't know, known knowns, known unknowns. There could be someone out there, making
let's
money off
just let's
pee
just
and giving it to Medicare for all. I'm just
let's
saying
just
it's all kinds.
let's just speculate shamelessly and suggest that David Spade is now the richest bad comedian in Hollywood.
No, I'll argue against that in Culture Court at the Comedy Store with David Spade there. I'll take arms for David Spade. He's shoveled it around. I love Joe Dirt. What he deserves to get rich off of Joe Dirt.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm kind of getting. You're kind of like pushing my buttons, and let me tell you, man, I'm in it. I'm trying to do this vulnerable thing, but I believe in the Muhammad Ali Lama. I believe in the Salvador Dalai Lama because these are surreal times, so surreal tactics are necessary. And I believe in the Barbie Dalai Lama.
In my long experience, the funniest David Spade has ever been was when I was watching a Styx concert on PBS. And they broke for the pledge break because the only time you get something as good as a Styx concert on PBS is during a pledge drive, which means they break it up for the pledge drive the same as they would for commercials. So you get the members of the band asking you for money for PBS in between the members of the band performing in the concert. So you see this guy with the goatee, long hair. Hello, I'm David Spade. But of course, it's Tommy Shaw. But it was hilarious.
It's not as hilarious as OCD podcast.
And that's the funniest. That's the most David Spade has ever made me laugh, and it was Tommy Shaw from Styx.
He's made me laugh a number of times. I really enjoy David Spade. I enjoy his company. Some people have something else that people need to understand. And again, we're getting back to the mental floss that you asked me to bring to this show. This is the joke, right? But there's actually there are real mental floss exercises you can do for yourself. And artists like Eddie Murphy, Robin Williams, David Spade, there's so many. Oh, Stevie Wonder had a huge aura when I met him and encountered him. Jason Robards' energy was there presently before he passed away and I met him. But these people are deliberately cultivating a positive energy, a positive chi. And that's something that the conspiracy cannot take away from you. No one can conspire they do. They tell you to be miserable and you should hate the rich and everything. No, you should focus on yourself.
But what does sweatshops do for people's positive chi?
Well, it forces you to cultivate it strongly. As someone who has been a dishwasher, what else have I been? Oh, I've done a lot. I've done things that we can't discuss some of the things I've done for jobs on this show because we'll go way off into a tangent. But I have done the dirty work of being a dishwasher, etc. And what you have to do is cultivate your mind and your body to be positive. You have all of your nerve endings in your hands, according to acupuncture, and then you have all of your nerve endings in your ears. So the Falun Dafa are actually clearing their aura with mental floss when they put their hands up to their ears and the nerve connection is made, and you hold it out here and you make certain you can hear your own energy, that there's not any interference. And then can you hear and connect with yourself out here? Out here. And you have to clear your energy because we have to sustain everyone in the movement to make life better. And you cannot let the dissatisfaction be on someone who is, you have to make your own fun. You have to pull the wool over your own eyes and relax in the safety of your own delusions and drive your imaginary Ferrari home when you are walking 12 miles that day in your Birkenstocks because your incompetent 25-year-old manager gave you the wrong address. And he doesn't know that you're so poor, you're walking everywhere. He doesn't know that. He doesn't need to know. That is classified information. You have to have a government access code for that.
This is why I have a day job, because I don't end up walking anywhere.
Well, you're lucky, I guess. I don't know.
No, I don't know about lucky. Day job has its own problems. But
what do you do? You're in IT. That's right.
No, technical support.
Technical support.
I help people turn the lights on.
Oh, that's nice. That's important. I kind of think, yes. I like to think that, the internet is something like the manifestation of Carl Jung's collective consciousness.
One that this is important to me. There are lights out in a jail in Pennsylvania, and I'm just worried sick about what might happen in the dark up there. I mean,
my brother was in prison for a while. One of my brothers. Turns out I have more than what I thought. One of my brothers was in prison for a while, and the entire prison labor system needs to be dismantled. And the way that we approach prison work, I mean, here we go again. Like, the entire self-righteous, sanctimonious people need to let go. Where is the room for rehab? You need to. If you want people to rehabilitate, you can't have a punitive penal system.
So let's go ahead and challenge an assumption here.
And then, of course, I'm aware slavery is legal.
Politicians say they want to rehabilitate criminals. They say it. But let's look at how hard it is for people who have been in prison to re-enter society, deliberately so.
Brutal. I was just looking. Someone promoting our show is a felon who's a non-voter, and that's just horrible. Yes. He served his time.
Yes,
the man served his time and came out. He should be able to vote.
Ron DeSantis arrested a bunch of people for voting in Florida after they were told they could vote.
Yeah, voter suppression is an issue, a major issue, and an old tactic. I'm very tired of it, and there's no reason why there should be. We make it so difficult to vote. You could go on the computer tonight and vote. You just press a button from your own home. You don't have to go to the polls anymore. But no, we have to have everyone go to the polls and vote on this and that, make the line long.
If it were easy to vote, everyone would do it.
Right.
If everyone did it, then people would be politically engaged and would talk about this stuff to each other.
Right.
If people talked about this stuff to each other in an engaged, meaningful way, people would be really pissed at their politicians who aren't listening to them.
Yes, they would.
And so that's where the disconnections are. We have to tune out some of the electoral politics to focus on organizing things like taking care of our neighbors and protecting people in the neighborhood.
Yes, I am a big community member activist. I love taking care of people in my neighborhood. I founded the Antifa Social Gardening Club. I'm excited to plant flowers everywhere. I want to bring back flower power and, a lot of laughter. I'm after the laughter. That is laughter makes me feel so good. Even if I'm laughing at someone I disagree with, and don't even think is funny, the ability to laugh at him can be an insult. I mean, there's so many different ways to laugh. That was one of the great things I took away from the Comedy Store, is that even though I'm in the company of someone I disagree with, I can still find them funny. And if I find them funny, there's some kind of power taken away from them, even if I'm going to, the guillotine. and being led by them. Even then, like the great James P. Connolly, working socialist, he was peaceful till the end. When he was where he met his end in front of a firing squad of British soldiers.
Now you see, and this is just a thought.
Go for it. Maybe, I wish I could raise the other eyebrow.
Maybe at some point in the process, before he got to the firing squad, he should have stopped being peaceful.
Well, he did. He did. He planned the East. I'm glad you brought that up. Because he did pick up arms and organize a little ditty. Some may call an embarrassing riot if you are an insurrectionist supporter, called the Easter Uprising.
Yes.
And it was a very famous socialist stand for the freedom of Ireland and the right to be self-governing. And James P. Connolly was one of the people to sign the Irish Declaration of Independence. An amazing, beautiful piece of work, piece of paper, in which the idea of having land is referred to in the female. It's Ireland is a her, if you didn't know it. And it's just a beautiful piece of work. I love.
Well, that's because farmers just love gopher holes and, well, never mind.
I don't know where the gopher holes are going, but all of a sudden Caddyshack is on the.
No, it has to do with why it has to do with why the country is a her.
Oh no! Well, actually, the Celts were a matriarchal goddess worshiping society.
I know. For a good while.
Yeah, for a good long while, and that's why the Mother Mary is so important in the Catholic Church, and that's why Brige, the goddess Brige, the triple goddess of the forge, the poetry, and the healing, became a saint when the Catholics came over and brutally took over and suppressed the Irish people. I mean, we've all there's no one. Well, I mean, there are some people somewhere. There are a few societies. That
the Catholic, the Catholics
people are just busy beating up on each other, and the Catholics, woo!
The Catholics actually, the irony is the Catholics may have been the most peaceful people to take over Ireland, is all, and that's saying something.
The Inquisition, what a gas, the Inquisition. Now we're on Mel Brooks, another great.
Yes. Now, since you're talking about Mel Brooks and History of the World Part 1, Jews in Space, History of the World Part 2, the original Jewish space lasers. Now, I know Marjorie Taylor Greene has seen that movie more than once.
Is that where the space laser quote came
That's
from?
the only place she could have gotten the idea for Jewish space lasers is History of the World Part 1.
I can't imagine watching that movie hatefully.
They run that bit at the end. And it's History of the World Part 2.
Yes.
And they see a Viking funeral.
Yes.
And they all have horns under the helmets. And see Hitler on ice.
I'd love to see Hitler
and it's
on
Mel
ice.
Brooks got up as Hitler doing the ice.
Ice. I remember I was smoking a hash cigarette in Berlin at the Berlinale Film Festival. At the top of some fabulous building with bunkers below. And Florian Fritz, a very, very famous German actor, was there with the American actor Tim Williams, who was showing me around Berlin. And as soon as the cameras came to interfere with us off camera in our downtime, enjoying a hash cigarette, Florian said, look over there. Hitler died over there. And the cameras ran away. A very easy way to scurry forces is to mention Hitler. It's amazing what that guy does.
And then the last one.
To a party or a podcast.
And then the last one was C, Jews in space.
Space!
And they have the big Star of David from the Israeli flag flying through space with laser cannons blowing people up. It was very subversively anti-Israel for Mel Brooks.
It was very, very, very good and funny and making fun of people that hate other people for their religion, specifically being a Jew. And that sucks because I love Jews. I love everything about them. They helped me do my math when I was a kid. I got to go to so many bar mitzvahs. It's a rich culture. I love the food. I might be Jewish. We don't know. I have Polish roots in which my grandmother said I was, descended from people that had to leave. So, where's the hatred? Here,
everybody in Poland is
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's not talk about the Jews because I'm really tired of it. I'm doing my best not to comment on all of this madness going through the news because, again, I'm trying not to divide people. So I even don't want to bring up the fact that my friends may be Jewish or not, or that I love Jews. I just want to talk about flowers. But, Marjorie Taylor Greene is right now she's practicing one of the most morally bankrupt ideas of marketing by just throwing out hatred. I don't even think that she believes half of the things that she is creating hatred about. I could be wrong, in which case, wow, what a bozer. But I can't even, I'm in a beauty contest and I swore off politics and just swallow. It's like a bad blowjob with a man whose semen tastes poor. It just doesn't go down my throat very well. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all these fascists, the whole Nazi thing. I would love to see the first Jewish president, quite frankly. I want to light the Star of David with the national Christmas tree. Amen, women, Americans.
So I hate to bring up.
God bless Jewish space lasers because, yes, they're precise.
I hate to bring it up again, but the spirit science guy on YouTube also loves to talk about space Jews and how they are connected to Atlantis. So I want to say, and I don't want to slander someone I don't know, but that's a red flag. When somebody starts talking about the connection of space Jews to Atlantis, that's a red flag that they may assign certain quasi supernatural status to Jewish people that's not necessarily healthy for the rest of us who have to live in society with them.
I can't even hear because I apologize. I have a hard time hearing hate. I could be deaf to it. I don't know. I'm just explaining.
I'm just explaining the red
what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding.
I'm just explaining the red flags connected to that specific intersection of space news and
I've seen it. When I ran for Congress and I had my first fundraiser on the Green Party ticket, this dude showed up to one of my private fundraisers on Embassy Row and in the middle of my speech told everyone that there was some portion in the Bible that described and prophesied a Grateful Dead concert. And he quoted and maybe, hard for me to say. I did look at the passage, but credibility out the window. Woo! Baby, the disconnect. And it's interesting. I'm glad you brought this up, Richards, because it's interesting to me how the Q propaganda works. And I watched Trump recently at this rally And he is very disconnected. He's not making any sense. He's just hate for people that don't want to read. And the people that do want to read, I mean, there's so much to read and there's so much to know. Again, a lot of people don't really know what is going on. And then they get mixed up in all of this race and cancel culture. And, you said, the word woman, you're a misogynist because you used the wrong tone. And if I had to cancel every misogynist in this country, we wouldn't have football anymore.
Well,
okay?
So let's talk about this cancel culture stuff, because you bring up a good point. And that is, the only people who ever get canceled are the people that the big media networks won't employ anymore.
Oh, I don't know about
Nobody
that.
else is ever really canceled.
I have no idea. I don't know.
I mean,
I do know
people who complain about being canceled, like Alex Jones, who was lying about being bankrupt at his trial.
Lying about being canceled is a way to not cancel yourself. If you're like, oh, poor me, I'm canceled, but you still have an outlet, you're not canceled.
Well, but the thing is that every time you see someone complain about being canceled or censored, they're making money. It's like they got a book coming out. How censored can they be?
Oh, the books. I didn't out Donald Trump for sedition when it was important, but I did spend 6 months writing a book about it. Sedition.
Right to profit.
Sedition. Yeah.
And
that is why
you talk about
that
corruption.
That is why I think our movement, I don't even want to be in a movement. I want to be in like a dance party. But that is why people who are suffering in this country with me, I think I have $900 in my bank account right now. I'm not selling out to anyone right now. But we have to focus on making money all the time. So because the ogres are doing it. The ogres are writing books and saying they're canceled. You have to find some way. I might take a second job in New York catching rats and selling them to pet stores as food. Okay, if you're poor and you have a source of mice, go ahead and catch a mouse. Sell it to the pet store.
They have to have the right kind of critters for that. But yeah, if they have snakes, they'll need mice.
Right. I read about this dude making a killing catching the rats, and I was like, he doesn't have a trademark on rats. When I spend all of November in New York, I'm gonna catch some rats, man. Like, how hard is that? I stay at Airbnbs because I can't afford the rent in this country anymore. Yeah, I've been homeless twice. I can tell you out there listening to Mr. Richards, if you are in your camper and find yourself parked, use a Trader Joe's 2-ply bag to defecate in. All right. That's like, I got tips. I got hacks. And try and laugh about it. Try and make it funny. Anyone that can make anything fun. If you can be subversive about your own death, you are funny.
Well, I mean, there's always Graham Nash's joke at Auschwitz, where they got there too late and they didn't want to let them in. And Graham Nash said, "Tell them we're Jewish." That's a John Cleese story. You should remember that. You've been talking John Cleese up all night.
I can't stop talking about it because, Daniel and Paul spent 2 hours. They spent 2 episodes speaking with Mr. Cleese, And it was so fascinating. Daniel Pasternak is so good at pulling out the richness and the textures and the velvet of people's souls that it was as deep as a Led Zeppelin song, in which I had to listen to 5 times over. Like, I still don't have all of Led Zeppelin.
I have to get this correction in. I have to get this
Mr.
correction in, which is
is
Graham Chapman, not Graham Nash.
Thank you for the correction. I appreciate
That's my
that.
fault.
That's lovely. Yeah. No. I don't even know where we were. I got all heated. I'm trying to be vulnerable now, and clearly you can see how difficult it is. I have a voice large enough to stop an army.
Brings out your color.
People take me to rock shows because I can bellow their favorite song onto the stage and be heard. I have gone to so many rock shows for free. If you're loud and you're proud and you're poor and you want to see your fist and say, hey man, you want to hear Freebird? I can bellow that from the nosebleed section. Okay. I snuck. I mean, get creative. Okay, here's something. Oh,
so
no, I can't give that away.
Here's a secret about Freebird.
What about Freebird?
There's a secret about Freebird.
Oh,
it's not that no one ever wants to hear Freebird. It's that no one ever wants to hear you, the general you who isn't Leonard Skinner. No one ever wants to hear you play Freebird.
Well, I don't know. I knew some musicians that were very good at playing Freebird.
No, but
I cover Freebird and make it rock.
Sure, but there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people who play Freebird who shouldn't play Freebird, and that's the reason that Freebird is unpopular in some.
Who is popular though, and the left should know about it, and very subversive, is Stan Freberg. He was hilarious, and he was an ad man from the 1950s whose tea ad. Did he start before then? If Mr. Pasternak is listening, he would know. But he had a tea commercial that was so popular that it was listed in the paper when it was airing. I mean, it was like a soap opera or something. And it's like the man would get all upset and riled about the news. Maybe he's reading War Story or some awful outlet that wants us all to be upset. And he would be like, I'm so mad. And she would be like, have some nice tea, dear. And it was wonderful. And his United States of America and album is hilarious. And as a Native American princess, a nap, I found Take an Indian to Lunch hilarious. Marvelous artist. So yeah, Stan Freberg, not Freebird. Anyway. And this bird you cannot tame. But hey, man, if that's the song I have to play to get the racist fluid, I won't take a knee because I fought for this country dude to calm down and stop beating on the hippie at the party or the upset hippie whose croquet game is suspected of being rigged. So all of a sudden he's going to throw a fight at a party. And I'll sing Freebird, man, whatever it takes for people to put down arms. I'm trying to pick up my charts.
But that's the thing.
I get so shrewy.
Freebird is the best way to get people to start shooting sometimes.
Well, we have been going. Well, oh my goddess, no! Don't bring up the mass shootings. Okay, what if one man? I started thinking about this. It goes back to war culture. We think that we don't think it's disconnected. We think that these mass shooters are not responding to war culture, but it starts with a single shooter who's doing a mass shooting. And it's like Alice's Restaurant. Then you got 2 mass shooters committing a mass shooting. That's 2 people. You got three mass shooters shooting people. Well, that's at least a posse. You at least have a Western. You get four people going into school, shooting up. You get 10, 20, 40. When does it become a war?
Well, I mean,
isn't a war a giant mass shooting?
One way to look at it.
well, I mean, it's a thought. It's amusing and it's a thought. It could be shot
I
down.
mean,
But I don't like it when it's shot. The only shots I like are shots on movie sets. I like fighting with stories. I like fighting with stories for understanding and clarity. It hurts me when I see people die in this world, and maybe it's just the sustainable capitalist in me, but it hurts me when I see people die because I go, oh, that could have been my audience market for my next block. We are killing my own,
See, but that's the trouble. That's the trouble is that, that's why capitalism
There's
won't
so
ever
much
be
trouble.
sustainable because
Well,
the
no,
capitalists
you
won't
went there.
stop the killing.
It could if we make it sustainable. It could,
But
like,
that
there
would
could be.
involve
We could, like, I
capitalists
suggest
killing
this
people.
hippie left division. You could, like, there's the capitalists, and then there is the sustainable capitalist.
Now there's some seriousness for us all. It becomes war when the mass shooters aren't white. Now,
that makes
part of the reason,
Modi and everyone in India, where there are no white people, and there's still bullshit going on. But you are right, Mr. Pasternak, brilliant as usual. And I'm really touched you're listening to us. Thank you, sir.
Part of the reason the mass shooters are doing what they're doing is they believe they're fighting a war.
Well, yeah, I mean, they do, because they fancy themselves the Rambo in their own movies.
It's more than that.
They have not had movies deconstructed to them.
Instead,
they're looking to connect radically and wildly. Oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I'm out of my fabulous zone. I'm out of my fabulous zone.
Most shooters are young white males in a Nazi vulnerable demographic.
I can't even hear. I don't even want to talk.
And it's very important to understand that mass shootings are a terrorist war against America's future by Nazis.
All I want you to do is go out there and get yourself and get your child a bulletproof backpack, a hemp bulletproof jacket. Because the urban shaman should be protected.
The good news
from these things. I mean, we need to take precautions more than just duck and cover, which DC stands for. I'm a big fan of ducking and covering, and I'm going to duck out on any more hate. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. You can handle it, Richards. You handle so much toxic stuff on your podcast. You're like this nuclear. You're handling nuclear
handle it otherwise.
And your little left wing and your commie red. After your job, you're just handling the nuclear waste of our mental society. You're getting rid of the plaque, the nuclear plaque in our war-driven economy. I sure wish it was driven on healing.
Hopefully,
or feelings. A feeling economy would be great.
Hopefully, nobody
more than feelings.
Hopefully, no one in the company of indigent affluence is dropping any dirty bombs in the Ukraine and trying to blame Ukrainians or Russians.
I think I'm going to start calling myself indigent affluent, because I feel like I live a very fancy life for someone that's indigent and can't be sued. Sue me.
It should be company of incompetent affluence, because they mostly are all rich kids from the Ivies.
I partied with a lot of rich kids. Richards. I mean, how can you hate the rich kids when your last name is Rich? You can't have Chris Richards without the rich. You got to come to some of these rich kids' parties, and you got to spend some of their hedge funds if there's a bustle in your hedge fund.
No. So Richard,
and you have to see just how subversive you can be with a lot of fucking money, bro. You can do a whole lot of damage to the war culture if you were wealthy.
If it was Richard with no S at the end, then that might be something. But the Richards with the S at the end, the Richard, that makes it a patronymic, which just means that my original ancestor was some poor kid whose dad's name was Richard.
That's very similar to John Cleese's story about his name, which again goes back to OCD, which I might be a little about regarding this podcast. Obsessive comedy disorder.
On the other hand, my wife's family goes back to the Mayflower. So, hey.
Oh, wow. Well, pure as the driven ocean.
No, because that's her father's family. My wife's mother's family is Polish American from Chicago.
You have a lot in common with my own heritage. So that's nice. I'm tired. I'm talked out. But I loved coming here. It was a delight. And I want to tell you, Mr. Richards, I came on here because you were so supportive of me during a plight where I was compelled to speak out against misogyny and, came under scrutiny. And I appreciated you stepping up and creating space for a woman to have her voice. And so it was my choice when I re-entered the public dialogue with my new, gentle, vulnerable self, that I come on your podcast. I'm very touched by you and what you do for a better world. And I give you much love to your wife. And I love that people listen to your voice. And I love that you know all these facts and details, and that you care is so important, and that you inspire other people to care, get through their day. I just say yay to that. I think it's fabulous.
Yes, but I need to do better at keeping Graham Chapman and Graham Nash straight, because they're totally different.
That is correct. You heard it from a college professor. You've been schooled, and I appreciate that very much. That you will do better. But we should all aspire to do better. And I could do better in this contest that I'm running for. The only platform I have is Platform Shoes. Please vote fab40.com/2022/Elizabeth, Queen's English with a Z for Zillennials. And I love you guys. Keep on the rise. -CROY, because I want world peace. DON, as in done, as in cancer should be over and killed. And you can vote for free. If you're some kind of commie pinko living off the grid, you can go to the end of the town, into the library, and vote free on your Facebook. If you have money to burn, and I hope you feel that burn, you can buy votes, just like you can buy my election, just like you can buy any election. But with my selection, I can't mess anything up but my makeup, and I even get a makeover. And with the $40,000, I will start a foundation for breast cancer survivors called the Emily and Gwen Foundation. I will give half of that to the organization Equal Means Equal. There are 2 websites for that, equalmeansequal.org and equalmeansequal.com. And they are a 501c3 and 4 organization that I vigiled for in front of the White House for women's rights for 3 months in the dead of winter in honor of the Silent Sentinels, who technically were the first protesters to invade Peace Park, renamed over a warmonger's name. That's the park in front of the White House that you see all of the protests taken at, and where the longest anti-nuclear vigil is being held. And so I'm going to give them that money to publish the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment, which sounds really fancy because there's a lot of syllables in it, but it's really only one sentence. Equality under the law shall not be abridged or denied on the basis of sex. Period. The end. And I do mean I
And,
don't mean menstrual. I mean
and
menstrual. But
and
yes,
let's be fair, because
let's be.
there's
Please.
no better
I'm a Libra.
time. There's no better time to pass the Equal Rights Amendment than
right now,
before the government takes all our rights away.
Right now. And it's very important because everything else that we are discussing regarding rights falls under equality. If we had our own sovereignty, we would have sovereignty over our bodies, and we wouldn't need to discuss reproductive rights. We wouldn't need to discuss pregnancy leave. We wouldn't need to discuss these things at all, because the argument starts and stops with establishing our equality. And to have Joe Biden right now in court with his lawyers fighting it to start all over just seems like it might be some giant corporate conspiracy that doesn't want to spend more money than it costs to free the slaves. So, and there are 167 million of us. That means that there's, wait, I have to do the math. How many boobs is that? How many boobs is 100? See, I can't do math. Okay, 6 and 6 is 12. I worked at a bank. 7 and 7 is 14.
Total number times 2.
There's like 300. There's a lot of boobs. It's like millions and millions of boobs, all of which should be healthy, coming together. And then, of course, I will keep perpetuating profits coming in for women's rights with the production or the seed money to start the production of William Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew, set in a 21st century Aikido dojo.
Remember, folks, vote for the boobs.
Yeah, only the breast of intentions. I love you guys. Please keep up the fight.
Have a great night.
You have more allies than you know. I love you. Bye-bye.
Have a great night, Lizzie.
I love you, Chris. Bye-bye.
Bye. And on that note, everybody else have a great night too. I'll tweet at you.